Today we're going to be doing something on the Mini, but I knew I was going to do it even before I bought this car, and that is going to be trying out this Mother's Back to Black trim restore. I've seen products like this for years now on other car videos for cars that had a lot of this trim. It was really big in the early noughties, and of course even the 80s and 90s. So as those cars started to age and sit out in the sun for a little bit, came up with a lot of products around the 2010, 2011 era to help bring back some of that black to the trim, whereas it was starting to turn into a gray. The Mini obviously has a pretty good deal of trim all the way around the bottom part of the car. I do really like how it looks because it maintains the narrowness of the Mini with all of the colored parts, and the extra width comes from the panels. Some of the Minis did come with painted trim pieces, and I just don't know if I like those quite as much. But we have the trim. I'm going to try out this trim restore. So basically what you do is you rub this on almost like a wax, and you're going to rub it all on the trim. You're going to do sections at a time. So we'll do that little arch right there that's attached to the hood first. You're going to apply it with a terry cloth and then buff it off with a microfiber towel after letting it soak and fully penetrate the plastic. So we'll do a quick little pass right here on the hood. We will see how it compares to the piece next to it, see if it really makes a difference, because honestly the trim of this car still does look pretty good. But once we do that, we'll do the rest of the car and we will see how it turns out. So let's get started with our application. I'm going to bring the camera in close here. Hopefully you can see this on the camera, the little line here of where it was applied over here and it was not applied over here. So it's giving it this nice black gloss, and you can see pretty clearly a defining line here. I don't know how long this is going to last, so I believe this is more of a permanent solution. It's not like a tire shine where it's going to rub off and I'm going to have to apply this every few months. I believe it's more of a treatment that's going to be permanent and should last for a couple of years. But you can see it does make a difference. So while this didn't look horrible, this definitely looks a lot better. So I'm going to go ahead and apply it to the whole rest of the car, and we will do a little zoom out and see how it looks. It's pretty easy to apply. As you can see, it almost kind of looks like shampoo. So I just applied it onto the cloth, kind of rubbed it in a little bit, and then spread it all the way across the fender. And it does look pretty good. I don't know how well that's showing up on camera because it's just a piece of black trim, but I do think it looks good, and I think it's definitely worth it if you have a Mini, especially if it's like a 2002, so it's got a few more years on it, or if it's one that spent a lot of time outside. You can see it's not looking great. It's definitely gray. It's got some little marks on it. It's got these little like white spots where I think someone got maybe wax on it. I'm not sure what it is, but it's covering up those really well. So the whole fender does look a lot better. So we will do the whole car and come back and see what the final product looks like. Before I finish up, I wanted to give one last shot of a pre-panel and a post-panel. You can see this is gray. It's got a lot of discoloration in here where it's a lot of white down deep in those grooves. And you can see how nice and shiny and black this top panel is. So this has been done for about 10 minutes now, maybe 15 at the most. And then this one I haven't done yet. So you can see, even though it's dry and like nothing's coming off of my hands now, it's almost like a conditioner for the plastic. And so it makes a pretty big difference in between this gray and this black. Now, as the whole car is done, it is going to make it look a lot nicer and newer. You don't notice it as much. I didn't notice how bad this was until I did the whole car. And now it does look a whole lot better and a lot more new now that I've done this. So we'll finish up this one little last corner right here, and we will let everything dry out. I've been leapfrogging my way around the car, so like I'll do this arch here and then let that soak in, and I'll go ahead and do this one. And then once I'm done applying to this one, I'll go back and buff this one out. Then I'll apply to the side skirt while I let this soak in. And then once I'm done applying to this one, I'll buff this one out, apply to the rear fender, buff this one out, apply to the bumper, buff that one out. Just leapfrogging my way around the car, giving things time to dry so that by the time I get back to the piece that needs to be buffed, it's had time to work its way in. Conveniently, this car is broken up into a lot of little pieces. So there's this fender piece and then the post fender, side skirt, rear fender, rear bumper, and you can work your way all the way around like that. I broke the front end up to a few different pieces. So bumper in this first little spot, then the middle piece, and then this part over here. So breaking it into threes just to give yourself some time to work. I'm using about a dollop that's a little bit bigger than a quarter, about a $1/2 size, or about the same that you would use to wash your hair in the morning. Make sure you liberally apply this. The more you add, the better it's gonna work. But we're gonna finish up now and we'll do some shots of the whole car. Well, the car is all done. After seeing how well it worked on all the other trim pieces, I decided to go ahead and do the grill. The small grills up here on the hood, the windshield wipers, and the little post that connects the mirror to the car. And I have to say, I'm extremely impressed with how well it worked out. You don't really notice how rough the car looks until you start applying the product. So I think it looks a lot better now than it did. So looking at the car now, it looks almost new. I mean, it looks so much better. We still have to touch up all the paint. Of course, we have to replace the front emblem and a few other small things, but really aesthetically the car is looking so much better than when I bought it. This only took me about 20 or 30 minutes to do, so for 30 minutes of your time and I think $10 for the product here, it really is worth it. I barely used any of it. I only used about down to here where it says back. So you could definitely use this on multiple cars, or share it with a buddy, or a car with much bigger plastic surfaces than what the Mini has. So overall, I'm extremely happy with it. One thing to note is you can see that I kind of backed in front of this tree, so most of the car is in front of a shade, especially all the trim pieces. The trim pieces front and rear in the shade, and the other side's in the shade because the sun is to the right of the car. But you want to do this in an area where the trim is nice and cool. You don't want it to be too hot or the product will evaporate too quickly and it won't have time to fully affect and soak into the plastic and condition it properly. So of course, if you guys have any questions, feel free to drop those in the comments below. Hit that subscribe button and I will see you guys next week.